Hello and welcome. So I wanted to give you a bit of an introduction to Chapter 3, kind of show you what's going on in Canvas and give you a little bit of a sense of what the material's about. So one of the big ideas of this chapter is radians and radian measure. Now, radian measure is really important in trigonometry, and sometimes there's a hesitance to get comfortable with radians. Sometimes students want to sort of cling to degrees because most of us understand degrees. We know what 90 degrees is. We know what 180 degrees is. We know what 45 degrees is. And that's great, and oftentimes you will be using trigonometry in terms of degrees, but very often you want to understand trigonometry in terms of radians, which is just a different angle measure, a different way of measuring angles. And it's, in some sense, it's a better system, right? It's a little more confusing when you're first trying to wrap your head around it, but it is superior at certain times and can make your problems easier if you understand how to use radians, right? So it's like everything in this course. You want to be able to do the problems two different ways because oftentimes one way is going to be much easier for you. So if we jump in here, what you'll see is we have a video on radians. So you're going to do the normal take notes and submit them thing that you're probably hopefully used to by now. And then here what I have on the next page is an animation that is basically defining what radian measure is for you. So we see we have a radius. That radius also becomes the arc length right there. That defines 1 radian. Now that might seem confusing, and then it'll go on. It'll show you 2 radians, 3 radians, pi radians, and then guess how many it is to go all the way around the circle. 2 pi radians, right? So that might seem a little confusing at first and go, well, it just seems better to think about things in terms of 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 360 degrees. But there's times when that's problematic. So if you think about it, degree measure is really very arbitrary. Someone just made up that there should be 360 degrees in a circle. Why not 500 degrees? Why not 600 degrees? Why not 250 degrees? And there are some choices that are good for the number of degrees that we could have chosen in a circle, and there's some that are bad. The reason that 360 degrees was chosen for a circle is because it is highly divisible. It is a number that is very easy to divide up into equal pieces. So if you think about it, 360 can be divided in 2, it can be divided in 3, it can be divided in 4, it can be divided in 5, in 6. In fact, the first time you come into problems is when you try to divide 360 by 7. Right? And then we can divide 360 by 10. We can divide it by all sorts of different numbers that make it highly divisible. And that's a good option for circles, but it's still an arbitrary choice that someone made. It's not really, inherent in the circle that you should have 360 degrees in there. We could have chosen to have 720. That's another good choice. That's highly divisible, right? There's different ways we could do it. But if you look at the radian is inherently defined by the circle in that the radius is equal to the arc length, and that defines what 1 radian is. So it's inherent to the way the circle is constructed. So oftentimes that is going to give us some advantages when dealing with the radian. So that's really what's going on here. So, you'll want to complete the assignment, do what it says to do down here. Another video lesson, right? So go through, take your notes, submit them. We've got a video on even and odd functions. So you probably dealt with even and odd functions in a algebra class or college algebra or pre-calc or something like that, right? So we have even and odd functions. The thing is, all of your trigonometric functions, your basic trigonometric functions, sine, cosine, all that stuff, they're either even or odd functions. And this gives us a symmetry that we can use to then quickly know things about our functions, right? So that's really what this video is about. So you're going to watch this video, then you're going to follow the directions down here. This is going to have you go to Desmos.com. If you're not familiar with Desmos, it is a free graphing utility. You don't have to sign up for it. You just go in and start using it. And it allows you to easily graph some very difficult things. There are things that are much easier to graph on Desmos than, say, a TI-84. There are things that are more or less impossible to graph on a TI-84 that you can do very easily on Desmos. So it's a very easy to access free graphing utility. Okay, so you'll have that assignment to do, and then you follow the directions as always. Another video lesson here. Then make sure you do your XYZ homework. And then you've got the question and answer form at the end here. So as always, you've also got generally some videos in many of the XYZ homework problems. So look for those if you get stuck on a problem. Okay, and if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me, and I would be happy to set up a Zoom meeting, and I can answer any of those questions that you have. Thank you.